Hello and welcome back to the Karma Stories podcast. I'm Rob and I hope you are having a wonderful day today. Today I have 4 stories for you from the Malicious Compliance subreddit. The Karma Stories podcast is published to all major podcasting platforms, and you can also read along on YouTube under our @Karma Stories podcast handle. If you have a story you'd like to submit to the pod, you can do so by email at karmastoriespod@gmail.com. Alright, on to today's stories. Let's jump right in. This story comes to us from George TGWTBN, Dead Compliant. Some months after my mom sold up and downsized, I got a letter from a debt collection agency saying I owed them £134 and some pence, including interest and fees. I had no idea what this was for, so phoned them. It was for the broadband service at my mom's old house, now sold, which had been cancelled a short time before she moved, along with the attached phone line. I explained that there must have been a mistake, as the phone line and broadband were all in one package, and I had cancelled it all together at the same time since the house was sold. The query went back to the supplier. They called me and said they had been unable to cancel the broadband part of the service because the cancellation had not come in from the account holder. But I was the account holder. They said no, the account holder is Mr. My father's name. I explained that there really must have been a mix-up as he had died a few years earlier, and I took over control of the telephone line and broadband account, paying that bill for my mother along with some other regular bills since she no longer had my father's income to cover things. They insisted they had to speak with the account holder and could no longer speak with me on the matter, and refused to speak to me again. Despite all the collection letters and threats of legal action being taken against me, not my deceased dad. They wouldn't take no for an answer, so I drove to his grave, phoned them up and said, "Account holder is here, you can speak to him if you want." I left the mobile by the gravestone while I wandered around the quiet and pretty churchyard. I heard some irate voices at the end of the line, so I picked up the phone and asked if they'd had any joy speaking with the account holder. An angry voice asked what was going on, so I explained where I was and that I'd love to know if my dad had said anything to them, since I had been unable to reach him under 6 feet of churchyard dirt since we buried him a couple of years earlier. Silence at the end of the phone. I was passed to a manager who apologized profusely and said they'd sort it all out at their end. A month or so later, the debt collection agency sent me a letter saying the matter had been resolved with no balance owing. OP added a really quick edit at the bottom. It says, "For any who ask why I didn't just pretend to be my father, my voice is in no way masculine, and I wasn't about to go to the hassle of coaching a male friend or getting a voice machine for something so silly." Jumping down to the comment section on this one, there's one from a user called Mitch School. It says, "I used a bit of Hamlet when debt collectors tried annoying us after my wife's slightly irresponsible father passed, leaving unpaid bills. No, he's not available. Do you know where we can reach him? I hope he's in heaven so prayer may reach him. If not, seek him in the other place yourself. Click." Another commenter called Merely Whelmed 1 said, "When my dad died, we discovered he and mom had done a reverse mortgage, and Wells Fargo had screwed up the paperwork. They left my mom off a singular document, and that allowed them to immediately tell her to leave the property. They sent her a combination condolence letter and eviction notice. I was the executor of his will, so I tried to deal with them. They kept saying they needed to speak to him. It was like they couldn't understand that he was dead. I finally had to hire a lawyer. We had a friend who bought the house and set up a living trust, allowing my mom to stay there until she died or went to a nursing home. 5 years later, she went to the skilled nursing facility, and we helped to sell the house. And we discovered Wells Fargo hadn't correctly filed the paperwork for the sale. Back to square one, they wanted to speak to my dad. I suggested a seance, then called the lawyer again so she could take care of it. Some companies and people are just idiots." Alright, these are great. Taking the phone to the graveyard and then the one where they wanted to do a seance, wonderful. But I remember a story that we read on here a long time ago where they actually took the urn with the parents' remains into the water company or the electric company and placed it down on the counter and said, "Here you go. You wanted to talk to the account holder. He's in here. This story comes to us from Detected Stupid. Want to ground me? Fine. Deal with the consequences. This happened a while ago. At that time, I was currently 13 to 14 years old, I think. I was in a family vacation with my best friend. In this trip, we were supposed to stay 5 days in the lake and then come back home. My mom is, most of the time, a major a-hole, so I was not surprised when she started having a bad attitude with me. After being 3 days on this trip, I was exhausted. I had spent all day on the lake and was really tired. All I wanted to do was to lay down in the camping tent and sleep the day away. My mom decided that this was a great time to ask me for help. She wanted me to carry my brother to the lake, bathe him, and bring him back to her. He was around a year old or so. Obviously, I was so out of myself that I told her no, and that she could do it herself. There was around a 10-minute walk to the lake. She started screaming at me as to how bad of a sister and child I must be, cause I never helped her, and yada yada. Then, after some screaming at me for half an hour, she asked me if now I was ready to help her. I responded no again, and that she hadn't gone out of the van all day, and that she must have been filled with enough energy to do it. Then she goes to scream at my dad to pack things up, take away my phone from me, and that I was grounded till she said so. Also, she made me go alone with her in the car ride. We went with 2 cars cause we didn't fit, and proceeded to lecture me the 2 hours back home about respect, how I should behave, that I should help around more in the house, and to have more family time, and also that I could be doing other things and to get a hobby, because for her, I was apparently all the day on my phone. Cue to the malicious compliance, I decided that if she wanted all that, then I could manage. We arrived home around 11 p.m. and she went to sleep at 3 a.m. for some reason. At 9 a.m., I was up and decided that my new hobby was to play flute at the first thing in the morning. I proceeded to play the flute so bad and loud that my brother started crying. I was playing the flute on the yard and they were in their room all the way across the house and with their windows closed. She couldn't tell me anything because when she came to the yard to tell me off, but I was so polite and gave a perfect reason that I was far and getting a new hobby as she had told me. The house stayed squeaky clean for 2 weeks, but every day I made a point to go to sleep before everyone so that every day I woke up a little bit earlier and ready to blast my flute each day for around 1 hour till they couldn't bear it anymore. I think I even reached playing the flute at 5 a.m. By the end of 2 weeks, the punishment wasn't over, but I was slowly driving my mom insane by messing with her sleep schedule, and I knew that. I also started lecturing my parents because they didn't have proper manners, and they couldn't tell me anything because they knew I was right. I spent all the day stuck to either my mom or dad and talked their ear off, and made everyone watch those horrible educational films no one likes. Made them participate in family bonding time, like making cookies, proceeded to leave as much of a mess as I could, and when they told me to clean it, sorry, but I have already cleaned the house today, could you do it? I was eating their brains, their sanity, and their free time, either by nagging them or by cautiously waking my brother up, but doing it in a quiet way, so that they wouldn't find out, and having them to deal with a baby all day long. The last day, around 2 weeks and a half, my mom was so fed up that she gave me the phone back. It has been around 2 or 3 years since then, and I haven't been grounded since. Alright, let's take a closer look at this one because at the beginning, OP says they were 13 to 14 years old, and at the end they say it's been around 2 or 3 years since then. So that means that they're only 15 or 16 years old now? And they're still really young, and they don't understand that what they were doing to their parents, and especially doing to their sibling, was a big dick move. Maybe when OP's a bit older and has children of their own, they'll realize that it was a dick move to wake up the sibling that early in the morning, thus inconveniencing the parents, but it might be a while before they have that moment of realization, as it were. This story comes to us from MD Lapla. You're never too young to do malicious compliance. I was cutting bread and remembered this bit of malicious compliance from my youth in Argentina. I have a couple cousins whose grandpa, not mine, on the other side of the family, used to be the town baker when I was like 5 or 6. Picture a small town with the town's bakery kind of place. Bakery includes a chicken coop for eggs, Grandpa Baker's house, a huge oven and prepping area, storage room with piles of flour sacks as high as mountains, a well for the water, a pantry, the office, and the bakery itself. Huge place, probably more than 100 meters long and 50 meters wide. For me and my bigger cousin, about my age, being let loose there is like the ultimate playground. We can climb mountains of flour sacks, we can try to catch chickens, we can run from store to the back, but the biggest thing ever, there are a lot of amazing baked goods to eat. So much so that they have to close the store during Grandma Baker's nap time because we sneak in and rampage. Grandpa Baker works night shifts until like 10 or 11 a.m., so he's out cold until 5 or 6 p.m. every day also. Both my cousin and I had, then, baby brothers, so our mums couldn't be on top of ourselves all day. The rampaging keeps getting out of hand, so Grandma Baker calls cousin and me and says, "Look, while I'm taking a nap, you can't have any baked goods or anything the store sells. Am I clear?" "Yes, Grandma Baker." If you've ever been to Argentina, you probably know what dulce de leche is. To Argentinians, it's probably the most delicious thing ever. Think peanut butter or chocolate spread, but 10 times better. And it's not a baked good, and the store doesn't sell it, but the pantry is full of it because it is used in baked goods. Think croissant with dulce de leche inside. You know where this is going, right? Wooden spoon in hand, the kind you use to stir a stew. Cousin and I sneak into the pantry and probably eat something like half a kilo or more of dulce de leche each. Malicious compliance and a huge stomachache later on never tasted so good. OP commented below the story and said, "This to me is a core memory, as in Inside Out. From it comes my love for baking, malicious compliance, and yes, dulce de leche." Jumping down to the comment section on this one, we have one from a user called Xaviria. It says, "The first time I made dulce de leche by boiling a can of sweetened condensed milk, I thought I saw God. It has not been the same since. It's only been meh. Too bad." OP responded to this one and said, "Yes, not even close to the real thing." Another commenter down below called Ancient Dependent 59 said, "My mom told us that her mom used to make it when she was a kid in the Depression. Mom got so excited telling us about it that she had to show us right then. She was visiting during Thanksgiving and occupied a whole burner on the stove while Chef Husband was making Thanksgiving Day dinner. The caramel was delicious, but ever after, Husband referred to his mother-in-law as the old can boiler. Ah yes, just leave it to children to find the maliciously compliant way to still have the treats. OP, this was absolutely awesome." This story comes to us from Maleficent Way 8694. "Remind me of my work hours. I will remind you of my work hours." A few years ago now, I worked as a nurse in Wales. There was a junior sister there who was an odd woman. She would openly bully a couple of staff members by telling them to do a faster handover by entering the room several times during said handover to tell them to be quicker, until she was told that they would be a lot quicker if they hadn't been made to stop several times during their report. I didn't drive at the time, so had to take the bus. One early shift, the bus was a bit late, which made me 5 minutes late to the start of the shift. I was told by junior sister that I would need to take the 5 minutes off of my 20-minute coffee break or work an additional 5 minutes at the end of my shift. When I started to voice my annoyance at being punished for something out of my control, I was told, "Your working hours are from 7:30 a.m. to 3 p.m. with one 20-minute break." I chose to deduct the 5 minutes from my already short break, as leaving 5 minutes late would leave me late for my bus home. A few shifts later, I was getting on with my work and had a few care plans to rewrite. At the time, all notes were handwritten. As I had been a bit frosty with junior sister, just keeping any conversation strictly professional, I sat down to start rewriting said care plans. Junior sister asked if I wanted a hand, to which I replied, if you would like to, thank you, which she picked a bunch up and went into her office. Cue malicious compliance. Bang on 3 p.m., I packed up my things, grabbed my coat, and made a point of saying goodbye to Junior sister. She looked up from her desk and asked me where I was going, to which I responded home. She said she was still writing my care plans and would I write a couple so she can get them done quicker. Yes, you guessed it. I replied with, my working hours are from 7:30 till 3. I get no leeway when my bus is late, so I will no longer be staying after my shift is finished. I will just hand over any outstanding jobs to the next shift. To which I walked off. I would like to say the look on her face was priceless, but I had already left the ward and didn't see it. So worth losing 5 minutes to not be able to finish my food on my break. Jumping down to the comment section on this one, we have one from a user called Traditional Egg 8146. It says, 20-minute lunch break sounds absolutely horrible. Being a nurse is already very stressful, and having to finish my lunch within 20 minutes would feel like hell. OP responded to this one and said, the break allowance is pretty pants. It was easier to take in a sandwich and make a coffee beforehand, so it was at optimal glug temperature and sit in the unit break room. There was no chance of making it all the way to the canteen and back. OP, I completely agree with what you did walking out when your time was up for the day, because I would do that as well. You don't owe them any extra time, especially if you're paid by the hour. If you enjoy daily Reddit stories, I encourage you to follow and add us to your favorites on whichever podcasting platform you enjoy the most. And if you're watching and listening on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button and drop a like on the video. It really helps us out. I thank you for watching and listening. I hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll see you tomorrow.